Hello, hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Now, I won't steal a catchphrase, so I'll just say, good morning, awesome people.
You can.
Oh, this is great. I can see you all too. This is great. Thank you so much for having me today. Today, I'd like to talk to you about getting unstuck. Okay. In life, it's inevitable that we find ourselves stuck in various situations. Now, depending on the severity of the situation, we may quickly be able to get ourselves out, or we may not even realize that we're not trying to get out. Either way, it's within our control to determine how quickly we get unstuck from any situation that comes up. We really do have the choice. We can throw our hands up and surrender and say, well, there's nothing I can do here. It's out of my control. Or we can choose to say, gosh, I'm really stuck here. How do I get myself out of this? Now, when it comes to being stuck, there's a few different levels of being stuck that I want to talk about. Now, the first level is pretty simple. You get stuck in traffic, right? You get stuck in the line at the store or the bank, whoever goes to the bank still. Or maybe you get stuck with the wrong meal after you've ordered at the drive-thru, but you didn't check the bag till you got home. Now, we've all experienced these types of being stuck and perhaps easily handled those situations and didn't stay stuck for too long. Level 2 is a bit more complex. Perhaps you get stuck in a job you don't like. Maybe it's a relationship that's not good for you. Or perhaps it's the 1-year lease that you just signed on the perfect apartment, but 2 months in, the rowdy college students moved in upstairs. Again, we've all experienced these types of situations. We get stuck in, and again, even though it might be a little bit more difficult, we've been able to find our way out. But let's talk about level 3. This is where it gets interesting. This is the most complex type of stuck. At level 3, we don't even realize we're stuck. These are the unconscious situations in life that we get stuck in. And most of the time, we're stuck in these situations year after year after year. Some of the situations might not be our fault. Sometimes they're not. Other times, they are absolutely because of the direct actions that we've taken or perhaps not taken. So it's on us. These are the most painful situations we find ourselves stuck in. These are those stuck moments when we feel uncomfortable, but we live stuck for so long, for so many years, that we actually become comfortable being uncomfortable. These are the stuck moments when, even when someone outside of ourselves points it out and tells us that we're stuck, we don't see what they see. Our reality has been shaped by this situation at this point, and most of the time, our response to anyone trying to call it out or to help is, I don't know what you're talking about, I'm fine. Or the good old, well, there's nothing I can do here, it's out of my control. Whatever the case may be, when it comes to the level 3 situations that keep us stuck unconsciously, no matter who's at fault for creating the situation, once we become fully aware that we're stuck, it's our responsibility to determine how we will respond to that situation. And it's up to us to get unstuck. At all levels of being stuck, 1, 2, or 3, I think we can all agree that it's not fun being stuck. Telltale signs of being stuck? Well, we're more than likely unhappy, possibly depressed, unmotivated, and absolutely have the feeling that we're not living up to our full potential. Now, I've been stuck many times in my life. In fact, I was stuck from the day I was born. I was born with a physical disability. It's a rare bone disorder, and it's called osteogenesis imperfecta. Go ahead and say that 10 times fast. In simpler terms, it means brittle bones, fragile bones. And it's actually a collagen disorder, so that not only affects my bones, but other organs and tissue in my body, since most of the body is made up of type 1 collagen. From the time I was born until about the age of 15, I had experienced approximately 60 bone fractures. Most were in my legs, but I also broke other bones in my body, my arms, fingers, ribs. I had 11 surgical procedures. Some were to realign the bones after they had been broken. And later on, I had steel rods inserted into both femurs and to both tibias. So I have steel rods in each of the long bones in my legs. I have them to this day. Because of this disability, I spent the majority of my childhood in the hospital, laid up with plaster casts on my legs. But most of all, I spent my time getting around by using this wheelchair. There I was, stuck in the wheelchair. Definitely a level 2 type of stuck. I was aware of it. It was long term, and it felt like I was out of control. It was out of my control. But all the while, I knew there was something more for me. I wanted to experience something different with my life. But just like everyone else, and given the fact that I was young, I did what I could at that time to live life to the fullest. But I still wasn't satisfied, and I definitely wasn't as happy as I could be. As I grew into my later teens, my legs started to get stronger, and I wasn't breaking as often. So I was confident and strong enough to start using crutches to get around. I would still use the wheelchair in various situations, but it wasn't very often. Now, once I started walking using the crutches full time, over the next several years, I did continue to break my legs. And at one point, I actually broke the femur on my left leg, and the steel rod that was in there, it bent to like a 35-degree angle. Now, at that time, I didn't have surgery to correct it. And this made my legs like 2 different lengths. So I simply had to walk with crutches. I couldn't walk without them. So I felt safe on the crutches. And I got very comfortable being uncomfortable. I was now in a position physically and mentally where I had gotten unstuck from one situation. And since I didn't have the tools necessary to be self-aware at the time, I ended up sliding into another stuck situation. Now I was starting to inch my way into level 3 stuck. When I turned 24 years old, the time had finally come for me to have surgery to correct the bent leg, the bent rod. This would be my 12th surgery. They successfully replaced the rod and my leg. And now, since my legs were straight and the same length, it was time to do the unthinkable. I actually was able to take my first unassisted steps and began walking on my own. So, right? That was a great time. So I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. That's awesome, Tony. You finally got unstuck. You were able to overcome so much, and now you can live life to the fullest. But that's not what happened. In fact, over the next 20 years, I would get more stuck than ever. Full-blown level 3 type of stuck. Let me explain. For most of my childhood, I thought my name was Tony Be Careful. That's because that's all I ever heard. I would go out to play with friends, and I would hear, Tony, be careful. I would get on the bus to head to school. Tony, be careful. I mean, I would pick up a spoon to eat cereal. Tony, be careful. Okay, maybe not when I'm eating cereal, but you get the drift, right? This is all I heard, be careful. It was ingrained in my psyche. And when I finally got off of the crutches and started walking on my own, I just always had this playing on a loop in my mind. Be careful, be careful, be careful. It kept me from doing anything physical during my 20s and 30s, year after year. And my health went downhill, and it got worse. When I reached my 41st birthday, I was in the worst shape of my life. I weighed 170 pounds. I'm only 5'1", y'all. This is heavy, okay? I was taking an antacid medication every single day for my heartburn. My back and my legs were in pain with every single step I took. And I couldn't even get up a short flight of stairs without holding onto the handrail. Finally, sharp pain in my stomach sent me to the doctor. He did a routine physical. He also did an EKG to measure my heart, and after looking at the results of the test, he sat me down, he looked me in the eye, and he said, "Oh, it looks like you might have had a small heart attack." That was it. It all came crushing down. Something had to change. I had to come to grips with the fact that I was now at a level 3 of being stuck. I was so comfortable being uncomfortable for so many years, I didn't even know it. But regardless, I had to take responsibility for my response. It was up to me to get unstuck. It was my choice. So I started working on myself internally, and I discovered that all those years of being careful were the culprit. So for me to truly make a change, I was going to have to do something that was the exact opposite of being careful. So I hired a personal trainer. Can you guess what everyone told me when I did that?
Be careful.
Be careful, exactly. But I couldn't be careful anymore. That's the thing. So I started working out and eating better. I was pushing and pulling heavy weights. I was doing full body exercises, and I was learning as much as I could about fitness, nutrition, and how to do things properly for my body to make it stronger, more mobile, more flexible, and definitely more balanced. After 8 months, I lost 40 pounds. Actually, I don't want to say I lost because I don't plan on ever finding them again. So let's just say I burned off 40 pounds, okay? Let's say we're burning it off. And I was stronger than I had ever been in my life. I started doing things physically that I never would have thought possible. I was the fragile kid that used a wheelchair. I was the brittle guy that walked around on crutches. And now, here I was, doing 16-inch box jumps in the gym for the very first time. My feet were leaving the ground. And not only that, later that year, I ran in my first 5K race, the Color Run in Los Angeles. And I finished. It was awesome. I can confidently stand here today and say that I am unstuck. My entire life has transformed for the better. I'm happy, I'm motivated, and I'm living life to the fullest. So now I don't hear be careful too often. Now what I hear is, Tony, how'd you do it? And the truth is, it wasn't just working out and eating better. To get this vehicle running at its optimum, there were many things under the hood that I needed to tweak and fix before I could get out onto the road to victory. The very first step I had to take was I had to be honest with myself. I had to admit that I was stuck. I spent so many years believing that it was the physical aspects of my disability that were stopping me. And to an extent it was, but ultimately, it was more about making the mental and emotional shifts and those changes that needed to happen for me to get unstuck. I also spent many years denying that I had a disability. I was trying to push it away while still suffering and living the consequences of my disability. So for me, I had to be honest about being stuck and about why I was stuck. We have to be honest with ourselves to uncover the truth about the situations we're stuck in. When we do this, we can take the responsibility, find the power, and truly start the journey to getting unstuck. Now, once we come to the realization that we're stuck and we want to make a change, the next important step in the process is to move from wanting to change to being willing to change. Now, it's two different things. We can want to change, and we'll end up wanting to change for a long time and never change. Want is inactive. Willingness is active. We mostly stay inactive because we're scared of change. But once we get past the fear and we build up our willingness to change, that's when we'll start to take action toward changing. I'll even go so far as to say that we need to be willing and eager to change to really make it happen. Being willing is when we finally take off from the launch pad of wanting to make the change. So we get honest with ourselves. We're willing, we're eager, and we're ready to get unstuck. No matter what change we need to make to get unstuck, there's going to be a process to follow. And more than likely, since we're traveling down a road we haven't gone down before, we won't know which way to go. We may think we know where we're going and what to do, but with most big changes in life, when we're getting unstuck, this is uncharted territory for us. I remember doing this when I started looking at exercise and eating better. My thought was eat less, move more, right? Simple. But that's not the right way to do it. It's not healthy to do it that way either. And every body is different. So we all need a different plan of attack to reach our own personal fitness goals. For me, with my disability, when it came time to exercise, I thought I knew how to move to get stronger. I had spent years knowing how to move with my disability because I live with it. But all those years, I was moving to protect myself, not build myself up. So I had to let go of thinking I know exactly what to do to get healthier with my disability. Since I simply don't move like anyone else, I had to learn how to adapt and move properly to get the results I was wanting to achieve. I had to let go of knowing it all, and I had to ask for help and get the right guidance. That's why I hired a personal trainer. For others, depending on the situation, maybe it's talking to a therapist or booking a session with a holistic healer. Maybe it's setting up a meeting with a financial advisor. Maybe it's as simple as starting to read some self-help books. As soon as we tap into the help and assistance available, the more powerful we become in our journey and the faster we can get unstuck. The last step I want to encourage you to think about is to have faith. Having faith is knowing before seeing. Knowing the result will come before we see the result. Taking the first step without seeing the entire staircase. Have faith in your own ability. Remember all of those level 1 or level 2 stuck moments that you've already gotten unstuck from. And know that you're powerful enough and can get unstuck from any difficult situation. One of my favorite quotes is from Neil Donald Walsh. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Looking back on my journey from being a fragile, broken little boy to now being a solid, confident, unbreakable, grown man, I truly believe this quote because I've put myself out beyond my comfort zone many times and I found success and growth. It took being honest, being willing, getting help, and having faith. Remember, it's within you and your control to determine how quickly you get unstuck from any situation that comes up in life. It's your choice. So next time you're faced with being stuck, don't throw up your hands and surrender. Remember, this is what we're going to say anytime it comes up. Gosh, I'm really stuck here. How do I get myself out of this? I'd like to thank you for having me here today. It's been a great time. It's my mission to help others do what I've done. So if you'd like to continue getting encouraged, staying motivated, and learning how to be unbreakable, I'm going to throw this up on the screen right now. Just scan this QR code or jot down my website. It's TonyJacobsen.com. You can connect with me there. Get on my email list. Grab a copy of my book. I believe Ann has a copy. You guys can check it out. And you can also find out about the other available programs that I have. Again, thank you to everyone at the center for having me. And it's so great to be able to present to you virtually today. Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day.